Welcome to another edition of Business Q&A. Today, we turn our attention to the rise of data marketplaces and their role in accelerating the journey to analytics and AI. Joining me to unpack how companies can better access, manage, and use their data to transform the way they operate is Louis Gouveia, who is the technology lead at iOCO Data and Analytics. Louis, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Now, let's just take a step back when looking at data marketplaces. We often hear that data is a gold. So what is the role of data in modern organizations today?
Yeah, so look, data is very important to most organizations. I don't think any organization, doesn't think data is important. Every organization we speak to, data thinks it's important. And if you use it correctly, you can change the way business operates and come up with, new ways of doing business. And we've seen this, with the likes of Google, Uber, and, in South Africa, it's no different. We've seen a lot of businesses using data. However, what we've seen, though, is as businesses become more and more digitally enabled, they're starting to get more and more systems, and each of these systems obviously come with data. So the data is getting more diverse, and it's getting a lot separated. And we've seen that a lot of businesses spend a lot of time trying to actually acquire the data or get the data together so that they can report on it or use it or make decisions. And this is just purely because as time goes on, things are becoming more digital, the data starts separating. And as we start seeing this, we're starting to see then, especially the large organizations, teams starting to come together and making their own little pots of data. And then this starts to lead to multiple pots of data all over the place. And then it becomes more difficult to make decisions. And that's kind of what we're seeing in the organizations nowadays, is more and more data, but it's also in little pots all over the place.
Companies really do struggle with getting the real value from data. How can they address this challenge?
So let's talk about what we see them doing now, and then a new way that we're approaching it.
Yes.
So the way they're currently doing it is they spend a lot of time making what we call a data warehouse or a data lake, and those pots of data that we talk about all over the place, run by specialized teams, they're trying to bring this all into one large repository so that you can get kind of like an enterprise reporting. And in many cases, you'll still have more than one of these data warehouses, data lakes. And don't get me wrong, this has been going on for a long time, making data lakes, data warehouses, and it's still a good concept and it's still a good thing that we do. Even as a business, we still have customers that go that way and we still help them. But what we're seeing now is a new trend where we're using data virtualization. Data virtualization together with the concept data mesh is allowing us to give a new way to access data. Basically what we're doing is we make like a logical thin layer or a virtual data warehouse that allows you to get quick access to the data instead of moving or copying all the data or bringing it together, because that's the old approach, is making data warehouse, copying the data, duplicating data, putting it into one big bucket. We're saying leave the data where it is, we'll connect to it, make this virtual layer, and then make the data accessible or available from that layer.
You mentioned a lot of concepts, data warehouse, data lakes, and data mesh as well. Can you just bring it down just a bit and explaining what data mesh means and why is it such a critical, vital, important concept?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we're starting to see these teams like make little sets of data, and most organizations saw that as a problem. And that's why they want to make a central data warehouse and that. But if you take a step back, the reason that's happening is because those specialized teams have specialized knowledge around those new systems they've implemented, new data sets. Now, data mesh is a concept where we're kind of saying, look, let's not upset the apple cart with the knowledge that those different teams have. Let's rather use this virtual layer, connect to those different places and bring that data available. So in this approach, by using data mesh, it's more methodology to say, we're not going to move the data, we're not going to copy the data, we're not going to make a central data warehouse. We're going to allow the data to stay where it is, allow those teams to continue looking after that data. The only difference is we're going to use data mesh concept coupled with data visualization to make that data available. So those teams will continue to make and provide that data. And again, we must remember those teams are usually business experts in their field. They know more about the data. Like if we look at a bank, for example, you'll have a home loans division. They will be specialized in that home loans data. You'll have corporate investment banking in a bank. They'll be specialized in that data, and they're very different data sets. So we're saying, let the specialists stay with the data, but let's use a virtualization layer to make that data accessible for all.
Which now brings us to data marketplace. Now, please unpack that even further.
So data marketplace is a new concept of where we're saying now, most organizations, because they have those separate pots, that you would have to go and access or request access to the data. So we're saying what happens if we took that away and we said, here's one website where you can log in. You can go and search for data sets, browse for data sets. So if you were looking for sales data set, you would browse for it, find it, you'd see the sales data set, and then you would be able to go into it. And from there, you'd automatically be able to see what the data set has, who's the owner of it, what part of the business does it derive from, and a description of how to use it. You won't be able to see the data set, but you'll get a good description of what it is. And from there, if it is what you're looking for, you can request access. Access will be granted by the relevant teams. And then once you've got that access, you can then, at a click of a button, open it in Excel, open it in Power BI, any visualization tool of your wish. And then we can even go a step further. We can also make that same data set accessible via REST APIs and OData. So to answer your question, what is a data marketplace? It's basically a portal where you can log in and shop for data. So something similar that you would do on Takealot or Amazon where you go shop, but now just imagine you could shop for data and it could be anywhere in the business, and you're getting rid of the process of going to request access, hunting for data. We're just making it available in this marketplace where you can search for data.
A simplified process. You know, Louis, it seems like there's a lot of rapid shifts within data and AI as expected. So how can businesses, especially small businesses, you know, within 2025 and the year looking ahead, how can they stay competitive and ensure sustainability and longevity as well?
So look, you obviously got to bring down costs. And, you know, as I mentioned, when you're making these data warehouses and these central platforms, it does take quite a bit of effort to get a team to move that data across. Using concepts like data mesh coupled with data virtualization technology, we're able to reduce those costs for business because the technology is a lot more simpler. We're not moving it. We're not increasing cost for storage. And it's a lot more easier technology to learn. And we find that the teams that implement this are a lot more smaller. So there's definitely a business benefit where we're making that data a lot more accessible to users, so you can make decisions faster with your business. But at the same time, we're also reducing the cost for holding that data.
Well, thank you very much for your insights there, Louis. It really does give us a picture on what data marketplaces really are. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
That was a technology lead at iOCO Data Analytics, Louis Gouveia. Stay tuned for more business insights after this.